Hey guys, Teddy here, and I finally got like 30 hours into Pokemon X and Y, and I thought I'd be good enough to give a review of the game right now. I wanted to wait a little bit longer, that's why the video took so long to be made, just to make sure I got the game, I know what I feel about it and how everything works. So let's dive into the review and see if we can make it fast. So gameplay is regular old Pokemon gameplay. New mechanics introduced, Mega Evolutions. I didn't get to use them that much. I only had a Mega Venusaur, and somewhere in the story you get to use a Mega Evolution. But it really didn't seem they got that much more powerful. It's just like a cool another form that they added on just to make some Pokemon cooler. And I think some have type changes, but I think Venusaur is probably one of the least affected Pokemon by their thing. I don't know how much it changes stats. Maybe it just makes it more offensive and less defensive. I do not know. But what I'm trying to get by is it's not noticeable. And Sky Battles, I didn't have a flying Pokemon on me. Most of the time I only had the legendary later in the game. There's a few of them around. I mean, it's a cool concept, but it's just like, It's not really implemented that much, and I don't really see the point of them, which they're no big deal. Any big other gameplay aspects? Well, there's the whole, they made IVs and EVs a lot easier to do this time around. There is an area in the game where you can catch Pokemon and they'll always have 2 perfect IDs, which includes a Ditto. But they also did it very well where legendaries have 3 IVs. Yeah, it's legendaries and Pokemon you get as gifts in the game always have a certain amount of IVs, which is really good. I like how they're making competitive battling easier, but not too easy that anyone without effort could get perfect Pokemon. You have to do a lot of Ditto breeding and all that jazz. And also why I couldn't use X and Y footage for this. I don't have a good enough camera to record my 3DS, even though I would be still like, I don't want to do camera videos because 3DS, that ain't me, bro. But I'm not going to buy out a 3DS capture card just to do this one thing. So, yeah, that sums up basically gameplay. Basic, really fun Pokemon gameplay that you've seen in every game. If you enjoy the other Pokemon games, you will surely be like the gameplay in this one. And, new Pokemon? Fairy types seem really powerful. The newer Pokemon also seem really powerful. I didn't get to use many newer Pokemon because it's not like Black 1 where they only had that generation. They have all the generations intermingled, which gives you a good choice of Pokemon and makes it a lot of fun so you can use Pokemon you've never tried before. The story, compared to Black 1 and Black 2, it's definitely not as good as Black 1. Black 1 had a really good story. Black 2, I would say maybe it's on the same level. I think Black 2 probably has a little bit more, especially because it tied back to 1 and had like the epic comeback of people, but I don't want to spoil it if you haven't played those. And I'm also not going to spoil the story of X and Y, but it's really kind of lackluster. There's no, like, something you can believe in. There's no hint of there being a good and the bad guys. Well, maybe a little bit, but there's no N character. N was a fantastic character. I wish they'd bring him back in this game. He does not appear. Colress is mentioned, though. That's the extent of reference to that game. And maybe there's some fan theories that an area in the game is connected to N, and this is where N is from, but nothing about that. But the story overall, I mean, it just chugs along like the first generation story. It just like happens. There is one like major scene in the game where it's just like Jesus, but it's only that for one scene, and then it's just like back to So the story, not the best Pokemon story there's ever been. And changes, I've already outlined some of them. The 3D battling, which is a lot like Coliseum, I've heard that comparison made a million times, but it's really, really cool. Anything about it, it makes it look cooler. I never put on the 3D because like 3D bothers me. You get used to it after a while. And anything else changes from the other Pokemon games that are hugely apparent? I went over most of them in the gameplay thing, but there's really, not that I want to just make fun of it, but it's a Pokemon game. There's not many changes. It's like, I don't want to compare it to Call of Duty, but it's like the new Call of Duty every year. You get new features. It's still the same base game, but it's a lot different. Pokemon, the added type does mess with your mind a little bit if you think you know things and you don't know a lot of the new Pokemon. I still have that problem with Black 2 and Black and White 2 not knowing the Pokemon, but major changes, not that many. It's still a Pokemon game. It's still really fun. Difficulty, I heard it is, I've heard it's very easy. I totally don't have 30 hours in it or anything. But difficulty is a lot easier than Black and White 2. And the reason I keep on making these comparisons is because it is the most recent game, and most likely people who are on the fence who are watching this video are going to compare to that, and or maybe 4th generation. I don't remember much about 4th generation, so I don't want to make comparisons that I can't back up with facts. But difficulty, which makes sense as they're marketing this as the Pokemon game to get people back into it, to start a new generation of Pokemon fans, or at least it seems like. The difficulty is much easier than other Pokemon games. You are very on par level by not doing any grinding. For White 2, to get the Elite Four, you need to grind a little bit. So basically, to sum that up, it's a lot easier, but it really doesn't take away from the gameplay's value. And replayability, Pokemon always does this great. There is not as much as like in Emerald with that whole battle frontier and all that, but there is an area where you can just like battle guys over and over again in single, double, multi, all that jazz. They do have like the rotation battles in there. They're not in the base like game, and that's a weird audio peak. How did it peak one way but not? Never mind. But it does have a lot of replayability. Also, if you want to play competitive and get EVs and do all that ditto breeding like I talked about earlier, there's that. Also, the character customization, which you can see in battle and in the overworld, which is really cool. There's tons of stuff to buy for that, and there's like a little side mission. Apparently, there's a whole like side story with Looker, I think.